The movie begins with a young man named Jun Woo who wakes up one morning and decides to skip school. Instead, he wants to spend the day playing computer games. He finds a note from his mother asking him to go out and buy food and household supplies, but Jun ignores it and heads straight to his computer to play online with his friends. While they're playing, one of his gaming buddies suddenly shouts, "Turn on the TV now and check the news." Jun, curious, switches on the television. A news anchor is speaking, but suddenly the broadcast cuts off. He grabs his phone but finds that there's no signal. Looking out the window, he sees people running in panic, some attacking each other for no apparent reason. Then, to his horror, he witnesses a girl viciously biting another woman in a disturbing scene. Jun is stunned and doesn't understand what's happening, and no help is arriving. Soon after, he hears people shouting inside his apartment building. He peeks through the peephole but sees no one. Just as he's about to open the door, his neighbor bursts in. The man frantically tells Jun, "Everyone outside has gone crazy. My own brother came into my house completely transformed into a zombie. He tried to kill me. Please let me stay here for a while." But Jun refuses and says, "If you have a problem, call the police." The neighbor tries to calm him and begs, "Just let me use your bathroom, then I'll leave." Jun agrees and lets him in. Meanwhile, the TV signal returns, and the news reports that communication networks are unstable and that entire cities have descended into chaos due to a new infection. Those who are infected turn into zombies, extremely violent and driven by a hunger for human flesh. Anyone bitten will also turn. One of the symptoms is bleeding from the eyes, along with extreme pain. Jun suddenly remembers his neighbor in the bathroom and, sensing danger, goes to grab a knife. The neighbor walks out, covering a wound on his neck. Jun raises the knife defensively. The neighbor tries to calm him, insisting, "I'm fine, I just need to stay for 1 hour." But Jun notices blood on the man's hand and begins to panic. Not long after, the neighbor's eye starts bleeding. He glances at the mirror, lets out a horrified scream, and his body begins convulsing violently. His limbs twist unnaturally until he fully transforms into a zombie and lunges at Jun, trying to bite him. Jun fights back, managing to shove him out of the apartment and stabs him as the zombie tries to force his way in. Jun locks the door just in time. Through the peephole, he sees a giant zombie attacking his neighbor's body and devouring it. Jun is in complete shock and doesn't make a sound, terrified the zombie might hear him. Blood starts seeping in under the door. Jun, frozen in fear, drags a large refrigerator in front of the door to block any intruders. He rushes to the sink, splashes his face, hoping this is all just a nightmare. But it isn't. It's real. He tries to call his sister, but the network is too weak. Then a message from her finally arrives. It says, "Don't worry about us. I'm safe with Mom. Never open the door. Make sure the food you have lasts, divide it carefully over the days, and beware of the zombies. The city is full of them." Jun looks at a photo of his family praying for their safety. He gathers all the remaining food in the house and realizes how little is left. Regret fills him. "I should have listened to Mom and gone shopping." He falls asleep on the couch. The next morning, the news reports that the outbreak is getting worse. More people are turning into zombies. A reporter asks a doctor what people should do. She replies, "Zombies become extremely violent and unpredictable. Everyone must stay inside, lock up securely, and store enough food for at least 2 months. No one should leave their homes until further notice." Jun sees people online posting photos with their names and addresses, begging the army and police for help. Inspired, he writes his own details on a piece of paper, takes a photo, and uploads it in hopes of being rescued. He watches a video of someone stepping out onto their balcony, holding up their phone, trying to catch a signal, and they succeed. But then the person loses balance and falls from the balcony. This gives Jun an idea. He attaches his phone to a drone and connects it to his VR goggles to control it. He flies the drone into the sky, surveying the destroyed buildings and wandering zombies below. He flies it higher in search of a signal. It works. He gets 1 bar and quickly tries to call his sister, but just as the call is about to go through, the drone's battery dies and crashes, taking his phone down with it. Hopelessness consumes Jun. He slumps at his computer and tries to play games to kill time, but the network is still down. That night, he hears strange noises from the street. He peeks out of the window, but suddenly, a gunshot narrowly misses him. Outside, a female police officer is trying to fend off a horde of zombies. She's running out of bullets. Desperately, she loads her last magazine, but it's not enough. Just before the zombies reach her, she tries to shoot herself, but she fails. The gun drops and the zombies drag her screaming across the street. June witnesses everything and sets his sights on the fallen gun. He needs it to protect himself. Suddenly, loud banging starts at his door. He grabs a baseball bat and braces for impact. The pounding is so strong that the fridge blocking the door shifts and falls. To his horror, a zombie emerges from behind it. June realizes he can't fight the zombies off for long, so he runs toward the balcony, thinking of a bold escape plan. He rushes out and pretends to jump, but in reality, he just hangs off the edge, clinging tightly. The zombie chasing him leaps off right after him, believing June had jumped too, but the zombie falls to its death. June looks down, sees the body, and feels a deep sense of relief. From a distance, he spots a massive horde of zombies roaming the streets. Among them, he notices the same police officer who had previously turned into a zombie. June quickly shuts the door to his apartment and nails it shut with planks to prevent any more intrusions. As he assesses the damage inside, June sees that all the food he had left has spilled out of the fridge during the earlier zombie attack. He feels crushed. This was the last of his supplies. Just then, he hears a woman screaming in the street. He grabs his tablet and starts recording a video saying, "This is my second day locked inside the house. I don't know what to do. I feel like it's a miracle I'm still alive." After 7 days of being trapped, June pulls out his late father's alcohol bottle. There's nothing else left to drink. We see that he's covered the entire balcony with sheets and barriers so zombies can't spot him. He watches the news, which continues to show scenes of zombies flooding the streets. He prepares instant noodles and eats, then accidentally knocks over the water bottle, spilling his last clean water. Furious at himself, he's forced to drink the water from the floor. Despite the circumstances, June still refuses to leave the house, even though he desperately wants the fallen police officer's gun. When he turns on the TV again, it's the same broadcast. No progress, no solution. The announcers still urge people to stay indoors. More days pass with no updates. June begins drinking his father's alcohol more frequently, eventually dancing aimlessly around the apartment in a drunken state. In his intoxication, he starts hallucinating that his family has returned. He sees his mother and runs to hug her, only to snap out of it and realize it was all in his imagination. He breaks down in tears from emotional exhaustion and dehydration. Later, June receives a voice message from his mother. Desperate to hear her voice, he climbs out the window, trying to catch a signal. The plan works. He manages to get a weak connection, and his mother answers, but what he hears shatters him. "We're at the Outbreak company. There are zombies breaking in." Then he hears her and his sister screaming as zombies attack them. The line goes dead. June cries hysterically, consumed by helplessness and rage. In a fit of madness, he smashes everything around him, including the television. He finally snaps. Completely unhinged, he runs outside, kills the zombie at his door, and begins screaming and raging in the street. He sees his neighbor, now fully zombified, feasting on a corpse. The zombie starts approaching him, but June screams at him to back off. Unfortunately, the noise draws the attention of nearby zombies. June sprints toward the elevator, hoping to escape, but inside is another zombie. He quickly runs away and hides, holding his breath to stay silent. Eventually, he sneaks back into his apartment, but a blind zombie is right behind him. June stays perfectly still, silent and frozen. Luckily, the blind zombie passes by without noticing him. He finally makes it back into his apartment, but the sound of him locking the door draws the zombies' attention. They begin pounding on his door. June holds the doorknob tightly, resisting with all his strength until the zombies eventually give up and walk away. 20 days have now passed. June has finished all the alcohol. He looks outside and sees electrical substations exploding. Soon, the entire building loses power. Hopelessness sets in. He picks up his camera to make one last video but can't even utter a single word. Emotionally destroyed, he decides to end his life. He ties a rope and prepares to hang himself. As he begins to lose consciousness, a red laser suddenly shines on him from the apartment building across the street. It points to a board that simply says, "No." June snaps out of his attempt and unhooks himself. It turns out a woman in the neighboring building named Kim had spotted him and was trying to stop him with her laser pointer. She continues signaling to him, using a board with written messages, asking him not to speak aloud to avoid alerting the zombies. They agree to communicate using hand gestures. She calls him an idiot for thinking about suicide, and they agree to meet at their windows every morning at 7 a.m. June smiles. He's found another survivor and hope returns to his heart. We cut to Kim in her apartment. She has set traps by the doors and keeps weapons close. Fortunately, she has enough food supplies. The next morning, June wakes up and realizes he overslept. He rushes to the window and doesn't see her there, but Kim soon appears, cautiously checking the area before coming to the window. She scolds him, "You're late." He apologizes, and they introduce themselves. Suddenly, Kim spots a zombie inside her own apartment. She tells June they'll meet at the window again tomorrow at 7. She returns inside and sees the zombie caught in one of her traps, hanging. Calmly, she grabs a hammer and finishes it off. That night, it starts raining. June and Kim take the opportunity to collect rainwater using every cup and bowl they can find. The next morning, June shows up at the window, clearly starving. Kim notices and decides to send him food. She tries to toss him a ball attached to a rope so they can build a line between the two apartments, but it fails. The distance is too great. Then, June brings out a second drone he had, this time tying a rope to it. He flies the drone across to Kim's apartment, successfully connecting the line between them. Kim successfully manages to send a bag of food to June using the rope, and he's overjoyed when he receives it. He thanks her sincerely, but his happiness quickly turns into panic when he notices a catastrophe unfolding outside. One of the zombies in the street has grabbed onto the rope she threw and is now tugging on it with great force. The table anchoring the rope begins to slide, dragging Kim with it. She falls, unconscious, and the table ends up hanging right outside her window. The zombie takes advantage of the situation and begins climbing the rope toward her. June, seeing this, is desperate to do something. He starts throwing bottles at the zombie to stop it, but they don't reach. The creature keeps climbing undeterred. Thinking quickly, June launches his drone and flies it directly to the zombie. He circles around it, trying to distract it. The plan works. The zombie becomes disoriented. Meanwhile, a larger group of zombies begins surrounding June's building, attempting to break in. The zombie climbing toward Kim grabs the drone, but just as it's about to reach her window, Kim regains consciousness. She grabs a weapon and cuts off the zombie's hand, killing it before it can get any closer. The zombies below scream in rage at her. Meanwhile, June wraps duct tape around his shoes to muffle the sound of his footsteps and grabs a stick. He sneaks out of his apartment and spots a part of his neighbor's body on the ground. He takes the neighbor's keys and breaks into the apartment. Inside, he heads straight to the fridge, taking all the food he can carry. In one of the rooms, he finds a corpse lying motionless. He cautiously checks if it's alive or dead. Suddenly, a zombie lunges at him from behind. June uses the dead body as a shield and escapes, running for his life, but luckily makes it back to his own apartment safely. Relieved, June enjoys the food he collected and prepares a portion to send to Kim, along with one of the walkie-talkies he found in the other apartment. The next day, they communicate through the walkie-talkies. June is thrilled to finally talk to someone again. Kim thanks him for the food, admitting she ate it all. June responds, "I should be the one thanking you. You saved my life." But Kim humbly replies, "I didn't save your life. You wanted to live. I just gave you a reason to hold on." June smiles, telling her, "Either way, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't still be here." They change the subject and begin cooking at the same time, sharing casual conversations throughout the day. They get to know each other more. Kim confesses she's afraid of heights. June is surprised, saying, "How can a woman who chopped off a zombie's hand be afraid of heights?" Kim laughs and says, "I don't think of them as people anymore. That's why it was easy for me." Suddenly, both hear what they think is rain, and they get excited to collect water. But they quickly realize it's not rain at all. It's the sound of a massive horde of zombies running toward the building. Panicked, both June and Kim drop to the ground, trying not to make a sound, but Kim accidentally knocks over a table. The loud crash draws the zombies toward her apartment. Terrified, she radios June and tells him what just happened. June doesn't hesitate. He comes up with a distraction plan. He calls the phone line of another apartment in Kim's building. The ringing sound draws the zombies away from Kim's unit, buying her precious time. The two then agree it's time to escape the buildings and find a safe place. Kim believes the 8th floor of a specific building nearby is clear of zombies. She's been observing it for days and hasn't seen any movement. Determined, Kim decides to go first. She ties a rope to herself and climbs out the window. On her way down, she encounters several zombies, but she fights them off with precision, using her weapons and sheer determination. Despite their numbers, she handles them like a pro. June watches in awe. She retrieves the gun that was lying on the ground, but just as a zombie is about to bite her, June rushes down and joins the battle. Together, they fight side by side, fending off the creatures. They manage to escape and run toward the building Kim mentioned. Once inside, they slam the door shut, but the glass is weak and won't hold for long. The zombies begin smashing it. June and Kim quickly rush to the elevator, barely making it in time, and enjoy a moment of safety. They reach the 8th floor and begin inspecting the hallway. There's no sign of any zombies. They try opening some of the apartment doors, but all are locked. Then, they suddenly see a zombie approaching from behind. Within seconds, a whole army of zombies appears. June slams down a large iron gate across the hallway to delay the horde, buying them time, and begins attacking. Eventually, Kim manages to open the door of one of the apartments, but suddenly someone pulls her inside. That person throws a smoke grenade to cover their movement and calls for June to follow. June rushes in, and for a brief moment, they find safety. But Kim is suspicious and asks, "Who are you?" The man introduces himself as Seung and says, "You should be thanking me." Kim is still confused and says, "I was sure no one was on the 8th floor." Seung responds, "I thought I was the only one alive in this whole area." He offers them some water, but Kim hesitates until he drinks from the same bottle. Only then does she feel safe enough to drink too. Seung also offers them food, saying, "Eat this while we wait for the rescue team." Both June and Kim are shocked and hopeful to hear that a rescue team is coming. Seung explains, "I saw it on the TV." June, overwhelmed with joy, hugs Kim, feeling that finally there's a chance to survive. But just a few minutes later, June suddenly collapses. He's been drugged. It turns out Seung had laced the food with a sedative. Kim doesn't have time to react. She too collapses. Seung drags Kim across the floor into another room, ties her up, and locks her inside. When Kim regains consciousness, she finds herself face to face with a zombie chained beside her. Then she hears Seung's voice from behind the door. He starts releasing the zombie toward her. Shockingly, Seung reveals the truth. This zombie used to be his wife. He wants her to feed on any living human to survive. That's why he locked Kim inside. He's offering her as food to his undead wife. At that moment, June wakes up and aims the gun at Seung, calling him a monster. Seung, desperate, says, "I'm just trying to save my wife from death." He then releases the zombie's chain and tells June, "Let her eat Kim and I'll let you live. I'll even give you all the food you want." He pleads with June to agree, but June struggles to hold onto the chain. It slips from his hand, and the zombie moves closer to Kim, who screams in terror. June tries frantically to open the door, and Seung falls to the ground. Then suddenly, Kim goes quiet. Thinking it's over, Seung opens the door to check, but his zombie wife turns on him and attacks. In that moment, Kim grabs the gun and aims it at them. Seung does nothing. He lets himself be eaten. "Let her feed," he says, offering himself willingly. Kim, with no other choice, pulls the trigger and kills both Seung and the zombie. But the gunfire echoes through the building, and every zombie in the area hears it. They begin swarming toward the apartment. Kim and June hear the growls and pounding footsteps. Dread sets in. They fear this is truly the end. Kim hands the gun to June and pleads, "Shoot me!" June, shocked and crying, hesitates, but before he can do anything, they suddenly hear the sound of helicopters above. They rush to the window and spot military helicopters circling. Quickly, they head to the rooftop, throwing smoke grenades as signals and fighting off zombies along the way. As they climb the stairs, Kim slips and falls, but June saves her and shouts for her to go up first and stop the helicopter. She reaches the rooftop, but by the time June follows and locks the door behind him, the helicopters are gone. They'd left. June stands in disbelief. He screams, pleading for help from anyone who might still hear. The zombies break through the rooftop door and charge toward them. June shoots too with the last of his bullets, but then the gun clicks empty. Just as they brace for death, a military helicopter suddenly appears and opens fire on the zombies. The soldiers shoot every last one of them, clearing the rooftop. They call for June and Kim, who climb aboard. The helicopter lifts off into the sky. They're safe. As they fly over the ruined city, they hear a radio broadcast announcing that over 50,000 people have been infected. The city has become nearly uninhabited. Then the broadcast mentions how the military discovered June's location, thanks to the photo he uploaded online. And with that, the story comes to an end. Don't forget to hit that like button and help us reach 8,000 likes on this video. If you made it to the end, drop a zombie emoji in the comments so we know you loved the movie. Thanks for watching.